Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Incredible, folks. Welcome back to the C3 Panthers podcast. Tonight's beat check is going to be a fun one. But I tell you, Cody, not used to these last-minute audio problems that always get me shook. I feel like 7 years ago, that was a normal thing. But now it just throws me completely off my game. And hopefully the Panthers are on their game as they head to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, who I think arguably the best quarterback in the NFL, my opinion. We're going to figure out if we can steal him away. And Greg Roman, is there somehow we can buy this? Can some deal be made with the devil to get Lamar Jackson to Carolina next year? I hope. But we got a great show for you tonight. Tonight's guest on the Beat Checks, Daniel Wilcox, former tight end of the Ravens and Super Bowl champion. And if I can get my Roman numerals right, a little test here, 37. Is it Super Bowl 37? Did I get the right?
I can't even remember. I don't think that's right though.
XX5, 3 X's.
Yeah, 37. Yeah, that's 37.
Ones.
37.
That's what I was saying. But look, more importantly than that, because the Panthers have not won a Super Bowl, so I'm not really interested in all these Roman numerals. App State grad, though, and we're from North Carolina. Holy cow, App State football player here. Daniel Wilcox here at the Beat Check to help us break down the Baltimore Ravens and the Carolina Panthers this week. Welcome, Daniel, to the C3 Panthers podcast.
Tony, Cody, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate the invite.
Cody Lashney, my wheel man. Last night, we went into the show thinking, holy cow, not a ton to talk about other than the Baker Mayfield starting news. And then callers kept calling. We kept arguing. And I felt like that 5:30 wake-up call came very, very early this morning. Cody, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Here for another edition of the Beat Check, and where we get to interview these fantastic guests. And look, I always love it when we get to interview former players because they get to add an insight to this game that you don't really get from your run-of-the-mill beat reporter or guys like that. So, Daniel, we're absolutely happy to have you, man, and ready to get your insight on this matchup between the Panthers and the Ravens.
I'm excited to be here, Cody. Thanks for having me, guys. Man, I'm really excited to talk Panther-Raven football, and I think this is going to be one heck of a game, so it's going to be an exciting weekend.
Absolutely. Tony, if you don't mind, I've been having a question. I'm just going to go first. We were kind of arguing last night about the run defense. And how, there are numbers that would say that the Ravens have the number 3 overall run defense in the NFL. Yet before the show, you kind of hinted that maybe there are some deficiencies that they're not quite playing Ravens football. With the Panthers having Deontay Foreman rushing for 3 touchdowns a game, seemingly, how do you see this matchup between the Baltimore Ravens run defense and the Panthers run offense?
Well, the Ravens have been notoriously known to be a very stingy run defense, so being ranked top 3 is still kind of being ranked low for them. They're usually number 1 in the league every year, at least 1 or 2. It's usually us battling Pittsburgh, but this is an off year for us. We got a new defensive coordinator, McDonald. He just came back. He's not a new guy for the staff, but he's a new DC in the NFL. First year defensive coordinator in the NFL. Coached at Michigan last year, and then he was with the Ravens prior to that. I did an internship with the Ravens about 4 years ago, and McDonald was on staff. He was the linebackers coach. Young guy, phenomenal guy. The guys really respond to him. But guys have been adjusting all year to new play calls and his defense. And his defense is the same as pretty much Wink Martindale ran and stuff like that. So it's not very far off. But anytime you get a new signal caller, a new person to call the reins, for each play, whether it's the defensive secondary or the front 7, it always kind of throws a wrinkle and kind of throws the timing off a little bit. We had a bunch of miscommunication cues early on. cost us a couple of games in the early on. It just wasn't Raven football. As far as run stopping, we never. Now, one of the things that Ray Lewis used to always do when I played, he used to always tell us they was never going to give a rusher over 100 yards. So if you give up a guy that rushed over 100 yards against the Ravens, he's had a hell of a day. Nobody's going to make it to the Pro Bowl playing running back versus the Baltimore Ravens. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see what happens this week against Carolina. I know you guys got a pretty good running back right now. Can't believe you guys got rid of Christian McCaffrey, but hey, you got to when you got trade stock, you got to get what you can, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
And that actually sounds a lot, Cody, like an old Panthers defense. That's what we used to say is, well, not we. I wasn't in the locker room, but what I heard them say it's like that 100. You ain't getting no 100 on us. That was the mark. I was just to follow up on that run defense a little bit. Oh, well, actually, this might be a two-part question. First is, how the heck did New York get Wink Martindale? How did they get him? Like, I mean, is that a lateral move, right? Is it coordinator move?
Yeah, I really think there was something going on behind the scenes where maybe it was just maybe over the years, maybe something was said here or there. And by the time it was said and done, Wink kind of took the heat for a bad season last year that was really caused by injuries, not by coaching. And it was such a disheartening thing for me, to see a guy like Wink leave Baltimore, because I think he's exactly what the Ravens defense have always wanted to be. He's a Rex Ryan type, and he's a guy to me that just exemplifies what Baltimore Raven football is.
Definitely.
And so I mean, him going to New York and them having a great season this year, it wasn't a shocker at all to me. But I just think, at some point, you wear your welcome out. You wear out your welcome. It's like going to visit a family member for Thanksgiving. You're supposed to stay 3 or 4 days. You stay 5, 6, or 7. They're trying to figure out, hey, when your flight?
Yeah, we got to go to work. Yeah, we got to go to work.
You got to go. And
are you going to cut the grass or what?
Right.
Or else,
yeah. I think he might have just wired his welcome here in Baltimore a little bit. And I just think, and it could have been reciprocal from both sides. He was tired. Harbaugh was tired, and they just decided to part ways. And I think he kind of got a short end of the stick. I think the guys definitely missed Wink. He was a great spirited guy and just brought a lot of energy to that defense. And the guys loved the way he called plays. And, so adjusting this year to Mike McDonald and what he's doing has been a kind of slow process. But it's also a process that, has to happen, right? And, I think guys are starting to adjust, and I think we're starting to kind of hit our stride a little bit, where we just kind of turning the corner on defense, where we'll start to play some Baltimore Raven defense by the end of this year.
The other question I had to follow up on that is because we did kind of debate whether, like, just how good this run defense was overall, and not to be critical of other people. Our run defense isn't great, so it's not but it seems like Baltimore has played from ahead a lot this year.
Right. And
a lot of the teams they have played, I mean, we were looking through some of the stats, and these guys are throwing 40, 50 times. Tua and them, if you look at that, in one of the better rushing games against against you guys was the Dolphins game. It was still 80, 90 yards, but it was Tua had like 460 yards. They had there have been multiple teams that have thrown the ball over 40 times against you guys. And what I was thinking is that Lamar and this offense gets you guys ahead in so many ways, and that just makes it hard for a team to kind of buckle down. So is the run defense benefited from that, the way the game's developed in that way?
That's a great point, Tony. That's exactly what it is. If a team throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game, on average, you usually get about 60 plays a game. So if they're throwing the ball 40, 50 times, they only ran the ball 10, 15 times a game. Normally you want to run the ball 20, 30 times a game in the old days when I played. It seemed like it was forever ago now. But I definitely think our defense has benefited from them not running the ball as much against us. And we got some big guys up front. Calais Campbell and company, they're not just going to let you run the ball and pound the rock on us like that. With Patrick Queen has done a great job at the linebacker spot. And then we just went and got the best tackler in the league from Chicago. I don't know how they let that happen, but bringing Roquan Smith in, I just think that was an excellent move by the player personnel department that's going to help our run game even more. And I think it's going to actually help out in the pass game too. We got to get some pressure on the quarterback to kind of slow things down a little bit.
Yeah, great. So before we move away from from the defense. There was a big time trade earlier this season, and the Baltimore Ravens traded for Roquan Smith. And I've been such a fan of Roquan since he was coming out of Georgia. But what impact has he made thus far for the Ravens? And what did you make of the trade overall? And what impact did you see Roquan having on your defense going forward, especially since you guys have such a lineage at that linebacker position?
Mm-hmm. I thought it was a power move by the Baltimore Ravens, man. I mean, to me, Eric DeCosta, the general manager, and then you got the guys up in the player personnel department, George Kokanis and Joe Ortiz. I mean, George Kokanis is like Goodwill Hunting. He's like that guy that just has that brain that never forgets a player ever. And he's constantly, looking all over the league for guys. And I don't know how they pull this trade off. There's no way. It's like the Ravens trading Ray Lewis. It just wouldn't happen. You don't get rid of Roquan Smith. But somehow we pulled it off. We got him, over in Baltimore. He's the league leading tackler right now. And, the very first game he played was against the Saints last week. And they held, Alvin Kamara, who's another Georgia guy, came from Atlanta. He's one of the Atlanta guys from my neck of the woods. They held him under 3.3 yards per rush. And to me, that just shows you that that's an immediate impact. We up until that, we was giving up 4.5 yards per rush. So to be able to get Alvin Kamara and his crew less than 3.3 yards per rush against us last week, that pretty much solidified the win for us. I think he's going to be an immediate impact. I mean, he came in and fit right in. He started the very first game here, and he had only been at practice for 3 or 4 days. So it just shows you what kind of pro that he is and what he brings to the table. And I think him and his leadership, we already got Houston here, and always coming back. We got a bunch of guys, man, that's just going to blow you guys away. Pretty soon. You're going to see the Baltimore Ravens in the hunt for a Super Bowl this year, I think.
Nice. Well, speaking of Super Bowl, let's move to the other side of the football on offense. I feel like, the narrative around the Ravens offense for a while has been, Lamar is this dynamic MVP winning quarterback. And during the regular season, he's the man. I mean, like Tony said, Lamar could very well be the best quarterback in the NFL. But there's always been this question of, do the Ravens have enough offensive weapons on the outside in order for Lamar to be successful in the playoffs? Do you feel like you have enough pieces around Lamar this year to actually make a push once you're in that loaded AFC playoffs?
That's a great question, Cody. I think last season we had so many injuries. He lost his whole entire offensive line, the entire running backfield, lost a bunch of key receivers. And then he also got hurt last year. So people actually have forgotten exactly how good Lamar really is. And this year he's trying to show people again, how great he could really be at the quarterback spot. Mark Andrews is probably one of the most elite tight ends in the league, if not number one. And then you got some guys on the outside, from Duvernay. You got Duvernay, you got a kid named James Prochet who's yet to kind of show everybody who he really is. I think he's a phenomenal talent. Then we went and got Demarcus Robinson from Kansas City. Isaiah Likely, Coastal Carolina guy that's from down you guys' way. You should know him pretty well.
Yeah.
And he's making a name for himself right now.
It's been fantastic.
Yeah, Duvernay, I think, to me, can be one of the most elite receivers in the NFL. And then you got Rashad Bateman, who's been playing, on and off with injuries this year. He's kind of been plagued a little bit. I think we got some phenomenal receivers. I think he has exactly what he needs on the outside. Yeah, it'd be nice to have an Odell Beckham out there, a big-name guy to draw a lot of attention. But right now, you got guys on this offense that's already going to draw a lot of attention. J.K. Dobbins, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews. Those are 3 big names right now on all 3 levels of your offense that will draw a lot of attention. They know they got to shut down Mark Andrews. They know they got to shut down Lamar Jackson. They know they got to stop J.K. Dobbins in the running attack from getting started. So you already got guys on all 3 levels that's going to draw plenty of attention. Those outside guys with Duvernay and Rashad Bateman, those guys have been phenomenal all year, and Demarcus Robinson has showed up when we needed him most. So I really believe that I think he has exactly what he needs, Cody, to answer your question, to be as great as he needs to be. He's still learning these guys, and these guys are still learning him. So that time and that it's going to take some time to get things on track. And I think that by December, once December comes, I think we're going to shock some people.
No.
Lamar is arguably my favorite non-Panther player in the league right now. There's a couple of reasons why, but one, Jalen Waddle is getting up there for me. That's a little fantasy stuff though. Lamar though, I've got a kind of a spot in my heart for him because I love Cam Newton so much.
Right.
And while I don't think they're the same player, I don't think that at all. Right? I think there's some things that we dealt with Cam from the noise on the outside, from the analysts, whatever preconceptions people held,
right,
that kind of just shrouded Cam's career unnecessarily. And I see some of that with Lamar. I've seen Lamar progress as a passer even more so than Cam did in a way. And I don't think he gets enough. And I know that we don't need to be in the argument of enough credit, this credit. That's not usually a healthy debate in some ways. But
I say the same thing, Tony.
Yeah, he's improved from year to year in an area that people told us that was his deficiency. He's not. I think that people continue to believe that he's more dependent on his game as a runner than is really true. One of the things, and this is it's a long way of getting to this question, is with Cam Newton's best season in the NFL was with guys where he did not rely on one dude too much. He let the game come to him. The 2015 season, we did not have the name, the force fed, is Cam relaxed and let the game come to him. In some ways, I describe Lamar as playing with a cheat code in the NFL. This guy is almost, if you put talent around him, it would be completely unfair. As a tight end, how do you see Lamar able to react in this game, in this moment, and make guys better in this way? Do you see that happening? Because like you name these names, and yes, they're fine. I mean, we're not trying to crap on them as talents, but if it seems like Cam thrived in that moment when he didn't have a guy that he had to be like make happy. Right. Is that benefiting Lamar in a way?
I think so, man. You know, it's a bunch of unselfish guys in Baltimore, and guys don't. It's not a lot of guys in his ear that have to be like, man, give me the ball type stuff. But that doesn't mean any of those guys doesn't want the ball. You know, me being a receiving tight end and being one of those H-back hybrid type guys, I always freaking wanted the ball. But I never would go to my quarterback and say that. You know, I felt like I never made enough money to do that first and foremost.
Right.
You know, so when you got a guy like Mark Andrews, he's basically your Wes Welker on the team. He's just a bigger version of a Wes Welker. You know, so you get the ball to him. He's in the slot all the freaking time. You get the ball to him. He's a mismatch for everybody that lines up on him. And the guy's just super sharp and super smart. He's your leading receiver, you know, and that's quiet as it's kept. You know, Mark probably played receiver his entire life. I mean, some of the skills that he has at the tight end position is so phenomenal. Like I just watching how he uses leverage, like watching how he knows how to make the linebacker sit still or the safety sit in the spot that he is, and then being able to run up on his toes and create separation, understanding when to sit down in zone, run away versus man. He's your Pro Bowl caliber receiver all day long. And then you still got speedsters on the outside with Duvernay and Bateman, guys that could really run. And then you got a James Prochet that I think really going to shock some people in years to come. And now Isaiah Likely is coming in, which is giving you that nice balance of a 1-2 punch. Lamar Jackson, to me, is such a dynamic guy, just like a Cam Newton was back in 2015. And to me, the best way to play this game is allow this game to come to you and take what they give you, and not be a quarterback that's trying to force the ball to one guy in triple coverage and get the ball to the guy that's open every single time. And that takes a lot of patience to do in this league, man. And you can just see Lamar, you know, his maturity just really showing up week in and week out. And the more comfortable he get with just being patient, the better he's going to be as a football player, as a quarterback, as a leader on this team. All the guys respect him. As a former player, I only played with one guy that was remotely resembles Lamar Jackson. That was Steve McNair. You know, when he came to Baltimore in my last 2 seasons, I really, really got excited, man. I felt like I didn't have a quarterback for 4 years I was there. I played 5 in Baltimore, and when Steve came in, he lifted us up. We almost went undefeated that year. You know, we went to the playoffs, ended up losing to the Colts. I think Peyton Manning and the Colts that year off a bunch of field goals and stuff like that. Nobody scored a touchdown. And then he came back the next season and he got hurt early in the year and just wasn't the same. Then we was able to get Flacco in, and then Flacco came in and kind of helped turn the program around and help get us back on track again, basically. And I mean, it's just hard, man. The quarterback to me is the most important position on the team because not only does he get the offensive guys prepared and ready to play, but he excites the defensive guys just the same way. And Lamar Jackson is that instant burst of turbo that you need when you're in a bad situation. He may come out and make a move on somebody or run for 20, 30 yards or throw a bomb for 60 yards on somebody. And all of a sudden the defense is like, oh, my God, we got to get him back the ball. And the offense is like, man, I just got to get open.
It's hard to call an MVP underrated, but, I mean, we did this with Cam as I feel like there's so much with Lamar. I'm such a big fan. This is just an anecdote, and then I'll get you to my question, is that every time I hear Isaiah Likely's name, I think of the RG3 tweet where he says, how many kids does Nick Cannon have? And then he put a picture of Isaiah Likely. It says Likely 80. I was like, oh, it's the funniest thing I've ever heard. I love that. I never
saw that. That's a cool
it's so good. It says Likely 80. I'm like, and he probably got the hottest baby mamas on the earth.
He does.
Best resume on. You got a good resume. Cam Newton.
Week.
Super weak.
I am sorry to keep bringing this back to Cam, but we are lovers departed. You know, we are in a land without a quarterback, and that was our man for so long. Cam Newton's best weapon throughout his career were tight ends.
Right.
Like, I mean, if you look at his rookie season, he had Shockey and Olsen together. He made Olsen has become a legend in Carolina because him and Cam Newton. My question to you about Lamar is this. It seems like a lot of the offense in the passing game funnels through the tight ends. In Baltimore, as a former tight end, and maybe you have some insight into this, is there any connection to a quarterback that has some of that ability to manufacture plays? Why is it that with Cam, is it just coincidence that tight ends were so important in Carolina for Cam Newton? And also, it seems like the guys that thrive with Lamar, and you could even say Jalen Hurts with Goddard and Zach, like it seems like there is a trend. Is it just coincidence or is there something to it?
It's definitely something to it, Tony. That's a great question, man. You know, I think every quarterback that's special, even Brady, you know, when he retired, he came back, he asked Gronk to come out of retirement with him. You know, he had Gronkowski, you know, Patrick Mahomes, he got a really great tight end in Kansas City, you know, and even in San Fran got a great tight end as well. So, I mean, it's just, there's a lot of guys, man, around this league at the tight end position that just helps quarterbacks out so much. And it's because we have the tendency, most tight ends are now kind of hybrids like me, where they're more of an H-back type. They're not regular old school, you know, 6'8", 280-pound tight ends that play lineman and play receiver at the same time. Most of us now are kind of lean guys that can run, phenomenal hands. Used to be wide receivers in college or high school,
like that Georgia kid.
Absolutely. And we all kind of got converted to the tight end spot. And now they use us. They put us in the backfield some. You know, we block for the quarterback, and then we leak out, and we get a bunch of little, you know, leak passes. And now they're doing tight end screens even more. You know, so it's just so many ways to get the tight end the ball because he's right there in the center of the offense. And a lot of times we're forgotten. You know, Shannon Sharp was a guy that was notoriously known to be running wide open all the time. It's like, how does Shannon Sharp get open when the dude got 100 catches? You know, it's one of those things. You know, Gonzalez, the same thing. You know, he was such a phenomenal talent, man. And people would forget about Gonzalez. Like, how would you forget about Tony Gonzalez? Right. You know, dude got
almost like as the
catches.
Play develops, right? As the play develops, the defense sort of starts to break down, and that tight end is just in that intermediate spot to take advantage of space.
Closest to the QB.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're closest to the QB, but I mean, a lot of times you can flex us out wide too, and we still is a mismatch because most teams don't want to put linebackers out wide or defensive ends out wide. You know, every now and then you'll see a linebacker bump out with us, but most of the time we got a safety or a corner on us. And if you got a bigger guy on a smaller guy, you know, you take that. I'll take my big guy on your little guy all day if he's really good.
Awesome. I wanted to kind of go back to this matchup between the Panthers and the Ravens, and this might fall under the moniker of a trap game. If you're a
Mhm.
Ravens fans, everyone thinks that the Panthers are underdog, and rightfully so,
They
man.
are. We're
Like
terrible, man. We're a bad team.
we've been playing quarterback roulette all year.
Yeah,
In fact, Steve Wilkes has pretty much confirmed that Baker
Baker
Mayfield is
started.
going to play, but they're going to give Sam Darnold some snaps as well. So, it might be easy to look and to bypass this Carolina Panther team right now. Are there any areas that worry you that you feel like Carolina might be able to exploit against Baltimore, either on offense or defense this Sunday?
Nah, not at all, Cody. I honestly feel like the only way we lose this game is if we beat ourselves, you know. And just like you said, Cody, like this could be one of those games that sneak up on you. You know, you could be the best team in the league. You see, Philly just lost last week.
Kansas City lost to the Colts, dude.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
man. Jeff Saturday as the new head coach.
Well, no, I mean that was earlier in the season though. But like Kansas City is arguably one of the better teams in the league. They lost to the worst team in the league. It happened,
right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It happens all the time where these teams can sneak. I don't think the Ravens would definitely. I definitely don't think they'll take Carolina lightly. And a lot of times that's what happens. You take guys lightly. You try to take this week off. Whew, thank God we're playing Carolina this week, and you go in there not playing your best game. They hang around a little bit, and all of a sudden they start to believe they can win, and then they sneak up and they beat your butt at the end of the game. But I don't think that'll happen this week. I think the Ravens got something to prove. They haven't played a good game all year. Baltimore hasn't. We haven't played a good game all year. We found a way to win, but we have not played a good game all year. We lost 2 or 3 games that we shouldn't have lost. We're wishing we could have those back. And we know that every win counts at this point of the season. So I don't think they're going to slip up on Carolina at all. I don't think there's anything Carolina could do to pull this one off.
Okay.
They, the Ravens are notoriously good at coming off the bye under Harbaugh for like the last whatever years. Their record, and not even just after the bye week. After
it's hard to do, Tony. That's hard to do, Tony.
Yeah.
Just so you know, it's really hard.
Oh, I know. I've watched the Ron Rivera team, who I have utmost respect for Ron Rivera and what he did for the Carolina Panthers, and we struggled off the bye. You're supposed to come out, so that is an awesome accomplishment. Back to Lamar, he's my man crush, man. I'm a man crush on Cam. I got a man. Is there?
Hey, did Cam just get picked up?
I haven't heard that.
I heard something about him getting picked up by who was it? Cam Newton just got signed. Was it the Saints? Did they pick him up?
No way.
If that happens, don't do that to me, man. Come on.
Hey, it could be one of those internet. It could be one of those internet memes or something like that. You know how they be playing
I'm
around.
pretty sure that's what it was. Dude, that would break my heart.
Forever. I know. The only thing worse is if he could be a Falcon for me.
Yeah, that would probably be worse.
That would be perfect for him. Actually, he's an Atlanta guy too.
Yeah, and they try to only run. They only tried to throw the ball like 12 times in Atlanta right now. It would be a great. I will not have that mess though. The Falcons
I'm not seeing that nowhere on my timeline.
Thank
man.
God. I don't want to hear anymore. I have a bad joke, Daniel. I got a bad joke. I'm the only person that actually people love this joke. I went to ECU. It's on the East Coast of North Carolina. Mike Vick destroyed my college team, and then he was drafted to the Falcons, and he destroyed my favorite pro team. So I'm the only person in the country that likes Mike Vick more after the dog crap than before, because it got him out of the NFC South. That's my joke. But back to Lamar. Is there any possible universe where Lamar is not a Baltimore Raven, and in the future Lamar has been incredibly bet on himself once again in a way? There's kind of some strange things about the negotiation. His mom and him are running it. They're representing himself.
Right.
I think what the thing he wants is the fully guaranteed deal.
Yeah.
And I believe I'm not a contractual expert, but I believe that the reason the other owners got mad at the Browns for what they did for Watson, which I have a problem with Watson getting a raise. That's a different story. But
yeah, it's crazy.
When they guarantee the money, they have to put it in an escrow account. Like an owner can't say, I'm going to give you $1 bazillion and not have the $1 bazillion. He actually has to have the money.
Right.
And so these owners don't like the fully guaranteed contract because they're not always as liquid. You know, maybe they don't have $270 million that they could just put in a bank account for the next 5 years. Our owner does. And is there any possible world where
Falcons.
Lamar Jackson is not a Baltimore Raven in the next year or two?
Nah, I mean, it's not going to happen. It's no
Okay.
way. He'll retire a Raven. If I just don't see Ozzie Newsome, even though Ozzie's retired. Eric DeCosta is a protege of Ozzie. Steve Bisciotti, who AKA arguably probably the best owner in the NFL. I just don't see them allowing Lamar Jackson to take off that purple jersey. I mean, he's pretty much the face of the NFL. He's Michael Vick kind of reincarnated. When remember when Michael Vick came to the Falcons, and he was the face of the NFL. You know,
he's on Madden, the whole deal.
Yeah, Lamar could easily be that guy. He's that guy right now. He's super. He's Mr. Electric. The Ravens love him to death, and I think it's really hard when you're a player trying to negotiate a contract and you're sitting down at the table, you know, with the general manager, the president of the team, the owner of the team, and then they have to tell you, you know, why they don't want to give you the money that you're asking for, you know, and you feel like you deserve the money that you're asking for, you know. So it's probably one of the most maybe rawest things that you could probably ever experience. I remember my negotiation with Baltimore, and it was very, very short. It wasn't long at all. You know, I had been bounced around the league like for 4 years. I played for the Ravens for two those years already, and they called me as soon as the season was over with. They called my agent first to try to get me to sign to be the first free agent signing of the free agency market that year. And I remember my agent calling me and saying, "Hey man, I'm on the phone with the Ravens. They want to sign you first. They want to get your deal out the way that before they start negotiating anybody else. I think that's a complimentary thing, you know." And I'm sure they probably had some conversations with my agent. We didn't want him to hit the market, to hit the free agent market. We want to get him off the market before it happens, you know. So, and I was like, he was like, they're not trying to give you a ton of money, but what they are doing is they're guaranteeing your whole contract. So no matter what, you're going to get your money. So I was one of the first guys to get a fully guaranteed contract. It didn't make the news because it wasn't a lot of money.
Right.
But, you know, but I had a fully guaranteed contract for 3 years in Baltimore, my last 3 seasons. And it was, to me, that meant the world to me. You know, I really liked Brian Billick at the time. I thought he had treated us really, really well. And, you know, me being a guy that bounced around from, you know, I had Herman Edwards with the Jets. I went down to Tampa. I had John Gruden, who was like the biggest butthole in the world.
Listen to this resume of coaches, man.
Yeah, man. And then when I left Gruden, I went overseas to play in NFL Europe for a season with Pete Hartnett over there with Ryan Fire. Then I came back and I had Brian Billick, and then I finished up with Harbaugh. You know, so I mean, just I had a really great mentor in Herm, who kind of let me down a little bit when I was there because of how the politics worked with the game. It wasn't him per se. It was really just the Jets.
Yeah, he got traded too, didn't he?
Yeah, they let Herm go, and then I end up going to Tampa. And when I got to Tampa, man, Gruden was like, he made me almost rethink playing football, you know. And then when I got back,
in a good or bad way,
in a bad way, I really didn't. He made me not like football for the year and a half I was there. And and we won the Super Bowl when I was down there too, you know. Then we come back and I signed with Baltimore, and then Brian Billick, you could tell that he actually played the game and he understood our bodies a little bit better, and he didn't just pick up a joystick and have us kill each other every play.
Yeah.
You know, he actually, you know, respected our bodies, respected us as men, treated us like men, and wanted to give us time off to recover because he knew our bodies needed that time. And he ended up getting released or fired by Baltimore. They brought Harbaugh in, and Harbaugh came in. You know, anytime you go from somebody that people feel like is arrogant or feel like is, you know, kind of passive aggressive or is not pushing you hard as people think you are because they call it Camp Billick or whatever, right? That you got to be a hard coach. So Harbaugh came in like steamrolling us, like pressing the gas, all gas, no brakes, you know. And you know, we was burnt out, man. We got burnt out pretty bad, but we played like freaking like a bat on fire the whole time that year for him, and went all the way to the AFC Championship.
What was so hard under Gruden? What did you not like the most?
Well, Gruden. One thing about Gruden that I can say is on the offensive side of the ball, he's a genius. Like as far as play calling and understanding the game and understanding how to get your best guy on their worst guy, he does that better than anybody I think I've seen. But the people skills, from a coach to a player, has to be, inspiring or encouraging. And I never got that from him. Some guys did, but I just never did. It was always App State jokes and, crazy stuff like that. It was because, I came through the App State reign, before they
undrafted free agent made your bones. You made your bones in the NFL. You earned it.
I got it out the mud, and we was an FCS team, so but every time he had an opportunity to try to, berate me or whatever, I felt like he did. And I just didn't, the energy was never good for me there. Warren Sapp didn't treat me good when I was there, so he's the star guy.
Do you think they made it about them?
Who? Gruden?
Like these guys, these personalities. Do you think that was that they made the experience about them more than anybody else?
I think I seen that in Tampa more than anywhere else. Like Ray Lewis was a big TV personality, but you respected Ray for what he did on the field because he always did it at such a high level, and he made you want to go play harder because of the way he played the game. But in Tampa, I think I seen that there more than anywhere else where you had all these big personalities. I mean, it was a Simeon Rice, it was a Derek Brooks, it was Warren Sapp, Keyshawn Johnson, a Mike Allstott, a John Lynch.
It's like the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s. Like,
it's crazy, man.
Tampa,
such a crazy team, man.
Must have been so much cocaine in there. Don't answer that question.
I don't know.
He's like, I ain't ever seen that.
No, you didn't get it from me, Tony.
I know, but the mugs were wild, bro. Even with
one thing I can say, I don't know if it was a lot of cocaine, but it definitely was a lot of weed.
Weed. That's probably the lightest thing. I mean, did you not see why Warren Sapp got fired from the NFL Network? He was giving out dildos. The mugs are loud, bro. They're loud.
Crazy, man.
They're loud. All right, I do have to pick up my kids, but I'm gonna be late for this one question. Cody and I debate this all the time.
Okay.
And I really want to ask you if you believe
here we go.
No, I really want to ask you if the NFL Europe is a good thing, which I do believe, and Cody does not like developmental stuff, but I do. But this is about this. I have a firm belief, and no offense to tight ends, you should not draft a tight end in the first round.
Oh, that's bull crap, Tony. What are you talking about?
Get them.
Some of the best players in this league.
Tell me,
tight ends right now.
Yes, but tell me the one that's drafted in the first round. I don't know one. It's like, I mean, I've been told every great tight end that has transformed the game has been a guy that came into the league and did more than people expected. I think this is OJ Howard. They told me it was going to transform. I've heard all these. I've heard all of these things, but the best tight ends have always been like third-round picks.
No, Jeremy Shockey was a first-round pick. I remember when he came out. Todd Heap was a first-round pick. When I came out, the reason why I didn't go to Baltimore is because they drafted Todd Heap in the first round. I ended up going to New York instead. Mark Andrews was a first-round pick in Baltimore too. He wasn't even the first guy drafted. They actually drafted Hayden Hurst first.
Right. Was he a tight end too?
Hayden Hurst, he's in Cincy right now balling.
They drafted Hurst before Andrews.
Yeah. Even
how you gonna draft two tight ends in the first round?
You know why?
That's incredible.
You know why? Because you got freaking Ozzie Newsome up there in the booth, representing for the Hall of Fame tight ends around here. And Eric DeCosta understands how important that position is for a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. And when you look at Gronkowski, he was a first-round pick. When you look at the guys that came into this league, man, who the big star quarterbacks are, even Drew Brees. You remember Drew Brees had the kid that played basketball in college? What's his name again?
Antonio Gates.
No,
not Gates. Gates was dope too, but not Gates.
That was the dude.
I'm talking about Drew Brees down in New Orleans.
Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't no first-round pick.
He wasn't, but he was a star tight end.
He was from Goldsboro, North Carolina. Just
the reason why was because he was a basketball guy in college. He didn't play football in college.
I think listening, all the athletes out there that are in college right now that are playing football, and if you play tight end, I think you got to walk on the college basketball team for one semester.
Absolutely.
And so all the scouts will be like, he played basketball. He's the next. I feel like that. It's like I would just be like, let me get on the team for one play, coach. That's all I need on my resume. And then I'm going to say I played basketball and played football. I'm going to be the next Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates started that trend.
He
But
was
isn't
phenomenal.
it's a thing anyway, right? Most tight ends have played basketball at
No,
one
it's
point
a
or
new
another. Like they,
thing. It's
no,
Antonio
I
started
think
all
this
of
has been
that.
around for a while, man. Like I know
No,
tight
first,
ends,
all athletes play all sports. Cody, I
tight
do
ends are the
really got
most
to go get my
athletic
girl.
person on the field.
Not
Cody, will
all.
you Cody close the show out for me, please?
Absolutely,
I
bro.
got
You
to
know I
rock.
got
I
you.
got to go.
Go do your
I'm supposed
dad
to be
thing.
there in 1 minute.
Tony,
Thank
thank
you,
Yeah,
you,
man.
man.
man. No
Thank you,
problem.
Daniel. I'm so sorry for the audio problems in the beginning. We are
Oh,
going to
you
catch
good,
up
bro.
again. Tell Lamar I love him.
We'll do. I'm
But
gonna say this last thing for Tony
yeah.
Cody since he's leaving. NFL Europe was a phenomenal league. I wish it wasn't gone. These guys need a developmental league.
Yes,
So
so many
important to have that
players can
developmental league.
benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. James Harrison, he was over there with me on the same team with me, James
Yep.
Harrison, and we both came back and we did very well. James did a lot better than what I did, but we both came back and did phenomenal from playing in that league.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, the tight end to me, it's the most important, or maybe the most athletic person on the football team is
Thank
normally
you.
the tight end, man. I mean, dude,
Cody, you're a
think about,
genius.
and I know this, the skill set that you have to have, being able to pass protect and be able to run routes, like you're asked to do so many things. That's why I feel like tight end and basketball, it's kind of synonymous. Synonymous. A bunch of big dudes that can move real well. To me, those things just kind of translate, right?
Absolutely, man. I mean, I try to explain this to people all the time. Tight end is a hybrid of everything, right? You get to be a wide receiver. You line up in the slot. You line up out wide sometimes. Then you line up in the tight end spot. When you line up in that tight end spot, Cody, you're basically an offensive lineman. And that you're basically an
Yeah.
extension of the tackle. So I got a double team block just like all the rest of the linemen. I have to cut off backside. I have to lead with a front block, with a tray block on the front side. It's you have to be able to do so many things, and it's so hard to be able to transition from blocking 300-pound guys to be able to block guys that weigh 250 at linebacker, and then they'll block guys that weigh 210 at safety, and then be able to block corners that weigh 180. You have to block all those guys when you play tight end. And it's a very hard transition to do from getting a 3-point stance to a 2-point stance back and forth, and then getting the 2-point stands in the backfield, and sometimes a 3-point stands in the backfield too. So it's a very unique position to play, and it is you do have to be an athlete to play it. Brian Billick used to call me the utility guy when I was in Baltimore because I
Yeah.
played so many positions and I did so much for the team, and they helped us out so much on special teams as well.
Yeah, man. We were talking about Cam Newton, Greg Olsen. I mean, he was so pivotal to Cam Newton's career. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
can't really even imagine one without the other. But Daniel, my final question for you tonight is actually going to be around Greg Roman. And Tony and I have been kind of going back and forth on this as well. I've always said that Greg Roman is the kind of offensive coordinator that if you look at his past, he was back with Colin Kaepernick as well. He really does benefit with a mobile quarterback. Do you think that a highly mobile quarterback is pretty much a necessity for Greg Roman to be a successful play caller in the NFL? And do you see him potentially one day being called up to be a head coach in his own right?
Yes, I definitely think. I think his scheme of offense is all centered around the quarterback that has some mobility, and I think that's what he's kind of made his name for himself, and that's why he's in Baltimore. When they went and got Lamar, he was a no-brainer to be the OC because of the work that he did with Kaepernick and the type of scheme that he would have to put in and let Lamar be the best version of himself. And you see how they took the league by storm that year. Lamar, played his first season, full season. I mean, the kid got MVP because of it. He did some great things. The only bad thing about, what I see sometimes is that I feel like they don't open up the entire playbook for Lamar. He's almost getting kind of held back because he's so phenomenal at the things that he does. And you could get comfortable, calling the same type of plays over and over again when somebody is doing them such a great job at them. And it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So that's one of the things that kind of happened to him last season when he started getting a bunch of injuries. You got so many guys got hurt, and then you became a fraction of how good you really are, as a team on offense. And then now you're trying to play the same game, run the same play calls with guys that are not as experienced as the guys that was playing before them, and you lost a step here too all around you, and then those things started to backfire. As far as him getting a head coaching job, I feel like every OC or DC has that opportunity in this league. So I think that's a good call by you, Cody, to even see the future on that. I definitely think it will happen at some point. You know, this thing is all about having the right general manager or the right president of the team or the right owner of the team fall in love with you as a person. And once they fall in love with you, it's a guarantee that you're going to get that shot. You know, Jeff Saturday was a player that played in this league for a long time, and now he went to broadcasting. He was broadcasting, doing commentating on television, and now he's the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts because he had a relationship with the GM and owner of the team.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about Greg Roman for a while. I mean, back before we hired Matt Rule, I remember Greg Roman as a name that had come up at that time. So, yeah, I mean, it's getting to be that time again. We're wondering if Steve Wilkes is going to be the guy here in Carolina, if they're going to give him another chance. I personally hope they do. I really don't think any other man could have turned this team around in the way that Steve Wilkes has done this year. And he's from Charlotte. He went to West Charlotte. Like he's a North Carolina guy.
He's an App State guy. Steve Wilkes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Y'all share an alma mater in common.
Absolutely. Represent Steve.
Yeah, man. So Daniel, we appreciate you so much for joining the podcast tonight, man. You've had some wonderful insights. Is there anything you'd like to promote, or where people can find you online, or just how they can interact with you?
Thanks, Cody. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that. So we just came out with a TV show, came out on Amazon Prime about 3-4 weeks ago. It's called Life After. My teammate from Tampa, Thomas Jones, the star running back from Tampa, he's executive producer on the TV show. I think the whole thing was his idea. But I'm on episode number 7. It's called Life After. It's on Amazon Prime. Type it in, get a chance to go take a look at it, man. And you can always follow me on IG at Daniel.Wilcox. And Cody, thanks for having me on, man, and really enjoyed it. You and Tony both doing a phenomenal job with the podcast, and keep up the great work, man, and good luck the rest of the season in Carolina.
Absolutely, Daniel. We look forward to having you on again one day and maybe talking about another potential matchup. And, yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Tell me the name of the show one more time.
It's called Life After, and it's on Amazon Prime.
I'm definitely going to check that out tonight, man. That sounds
episode number 7. Episode number 7.
Yep. That sounds like appointment viewing, man. Well, Daniel, again, thanks you so much for joining the show tonight. C3 Nation, please hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell for every single time C3 Panthers podcast goes live. We'll be back this Friday, another edition of the Friday Free-For-All, where you get to join the show and make your opinion heard. My name is Cody Lashney. Until next time, keep pounding.